So we're here at Marquette Sawyer Regional Airport with Dwayne DeRay, and he is the Sawyer Director here at the airport. And we're discussing more on how aviation has changed on KI Sawyer Air Force Base. I'm Alexis Bauman.
I'm Yachin Lee.
I'm Dwayne DeRay.
And this is Wake Up. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Good morning. Glad to be here, and I'm glad that you could make it out to the airport.
That was such a wonderful experience, being able to see the plane take off early this morning. And what we really want to focus here on is the change that KI Sawyer saw when the Air Force left and the regional airport took over. And I know that it changed a lot. Can you go a little bit into how it did?
Sure. There were, as many people may remember, the days of the Air Force Air Base here. It was quite a hustle and bustle place with a lot of activity, primarily focused on national security. Back in 1994, the Air Force did depart the airport, and Marquette County took over the operation, and they shifted their airport, or their regional airport, from the Negaunee site over to the Sawyer site, knowing that the facilities and the infrastructure here were best suited for developing an airfield and an airport, and the economy around that to grow would be best suited at this facility. So they moved that out here, and in 1999, actually September of 1999, we seen the first commercial flight come in to Marquette. It was with Northwest Airlines. Some of you folks may remember out in your viewing audience that we used to have Northwest Airlines that flew out of here. Now the air carriers have changed, but the service is somewhat similar. We currently have American and Delta, which Delta is the former Northwest. So there was a lot of big changes. Changing from a military configuration to a civilian configuration was quite an undertaking. With that, of course, the airport does not see as much operations as it did during the Air Force days, but there was a big shift. We had to build the terminal that we're in right now because the Air Force was not in the business of transporting airline passengers, so we built this terminal. We built our airport services center where we house our fire department, and we house all of our snow removal equipment and all of our staff to operate the airport. But as your viewers may know, as you drive around the airport, there's still a lot of existing buildings from the old Air Force days, and in many of those we have been able to repurpose, but there's a handful that we just are not able to repurpose. So as we continue to evolve, we are going to be redoing our landscape. We're going to be doing a big demolition project, and that's going to take down a lot of the older buildings that no longer are in use and best suited just to clear the area for new development. So short version, there was a lot of work. The activities, of course, slowed down a little bit, but for the most part, there was a lot of build up to support a commercial airport.
That's absolutely incredible. The immense history of just this airport in itself, not even relating to the military, just the fact that it came from Negaunee and had to be built from the ground up is actually quite interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't realize how significant that is. Up next, we learn more from Dwayne about how this industry has changed here at the Marquette Sawyer Regional Airport.
As many of your viewers may not know, that this location was the original Marquette County location for the airport pre-Air Force. Air Force came in the 1950s and requested to lease the property from the County of Marquette, and Marquette leased the property to the Air Force. They built up the air base, and as history tells the tale, we came back to our original airport. Marquette County shifted again when the Air Force left. They decided to move the airport back out to Sawyer because of the infrastructure and the ability to grow and expand the air service here. So that's what they did, is they moved it back out to the former site. Now, over the years, we have seen a lot of changes just with air service. There's been a lot of airline mergers and changes throughout the industry. We used to have Northwest. We've had American Airlines or American Eagle for the entire time that we've been here. We also seen other carriers come in. We see Midwest Connect. That was a carrier that operated in the 2000s, and that was a really successful carrier. For over the years, Marquette has seen our air carrier service fluctuate, airline service up and down, varying in volume of capacity and service. But for the most part, our passenger enplanements, or the people who are flying out of airport, continue to stay pretty solid and actually continue to grow. We are well over 100,000 passengers, total passengers on an annual basis, and we anticipate as we get out of the post-COVID seasons or the post-COVID era, that the country is once again going to open up, and the airlines are going to start to redevelop their networks, and we're going to continue to see continued expansion and growth. One of the big things that we've noticed, at least early on, is the aircraft size. You were here to experience that this morning. We have, this is the first month that American Airlines has officially scheduled their ERJ 170s in here, and that is a first class, actually two class aircraft, but it's aircraft that is 67 seats, has a first class site. Delta Airlines also flies in here in a CRJ 900. I know your viewers are like, well, the model and make of aircraft, they want to know how many seats, how big is the airplane. But both of our air carriers are now flying a 67 seat with American and a 76 seat with Delta. These are all aircraft with two classes, with the first class and the regular business class. We are the only airport in the UP as of right now that has that service capability. We have a higher level of security. Marquette has continued to invest millions of dollars into this airport to continue to grow and expand it. You think back again, going to the Air Force days, this was a very busy place, and it's taken a long time for Marquette to slowly ramp it up. And it's not a light switch where you turn off the military and turn on the commercial industry. It takes years of building up, and we have been progressively working through a lot of hurdles and developing the airport and putting in the necessary infrastructure, and we're starting to reap the benefits. Again, like I said, we're going to be tearing down a bunch of buildings, and the whole purpose of that is to build an industrial park of such, or a business park around the airfield, which is going to complement what the Air Force was back in the day. They had a regular community where it was a lot of activity, and when the Air Force left, it kind of dried up. It became a ghost town. What we're trying to do is redevelop that back into the same concept of a lot of activities, a lot of business. It's going to be economic boost for the region. And Marquette Sawyer Regional Airport is one of the few places in the UP that have all of the pieces of the puzzle that are needed to grow a business park like this. And it's all can be attributed to the Air Force's past occupation. Sawyer has a site-ready area for development. We have all the infrastructure for the utilities, gas, electric, water, sewer. We have rail system. We have a rail spur that comes in here, so if it's heavy industry that needs rail service in and out, we have that. And these are assets that the Air Force, when they were here, they built it up, and when they left, it remained. So that we have the rail service. Another contributing factor is that we have all of the business park, or the airport proper. All of that is Class A road, so that is stating that we are not affected by road restrictions or weather conditions that cause you to reduce the weight limits on vehicles in and out of the airport. So in that sense, we can run all industries all year round without any impact from weather conditions, spring thaws and such. So the airport, Marquette, has definitely have a great asset here that we've been able to build up, and hopefully as we continue to move forward we can expand it and make it an industry, or not necessarily an industry, but an economy all in its own that can spur on Marquette County and the surrounding regions. And going into the thought of Marquette Sawyer Regional, we have transitioned from Sawyer International Airport to Marquette Sawyer Regional, and many people knew us as Sawyer International and says, well, you don't have international flights. Well, the concept of that was we used to have customs services that would operate out here, but the U.S. Customs, they downsized, and the employee that used to operate out here had since retired, and they never replaced him. We tried for many years, and we would still pick up the fight if we feel that it's possible. But we've fought for many years to try to regain that custom agent back, not just for Marquette, but for the region. We feel the Central UP would benefit to have having a custom agent in the area, not just to service Marquette Sawyer, but to service maybe the other surrounding airports, maybe service the harbors, so that it is more of a partnership per se. But knowing that we didn't get that back, we wanted to shift gears and try to realign what our mission statements really is. And when we renamed the airport, and there was a large process as we went through this, we brought in a lot of stakeholders, we did a lot of meetings, we've had surveys, we hired a consultant, and we brought all of the parties in, and this is what we came up with, and we feel that the image that we're trying to portray now is accurate. Marquette Sawyer Regional, and again, regional is the big component of it. Is we're not a Marquette County airport per se. We are a Marquette Regional airport, because Marquette County has borders, but the Marquette region really is as far as business can reach outside of the area, and we wanted to imply that we are a Central UP regional airport that can impact the entire UP, or more directly the Central UP, and that's the whole process what we're trying to do it. And yes, the Air Force had a lot of pluses, a lot of benefits, and there are a lot of people that look back and say it's really a shame that the Air Force didn't stay, or it's really a shame of what happened to the Air Force base after they left. But rest assured, Marquette County has long been committed to rebuilding this and regenerating what the Air Force had prior. Not necessarily the same mission statement, but still to boost the economy and create an incubator for industry and commerce and tourism that all impact everyday life for everybody.
That's awesome to know that the roots are still here.
And because I know this area, Marquette, it's like snow for kind of 8 months per year. So I think that's definitely a big challenge for the airport, all the flights. So is there anything that you can talk about, like that area?
Well, sure. The airport has continued to evolve. Again, these are items that the general public doesn't see, because it's not the airline and it's not something flashy. But we have continued to develop our toolbox to support this airport for winter conditions. Over the last handful of years, we've spent literally millions of dollars on equipment. In fact, this year alone, we're going to be taking 3 new pieces of equipment. We got 1 new plow, 1 new snowblower, and another plow coming yet. And these aren't, when I say plow, this isn't your F-250 pickup truck with a plow on it. These are nearly $1 million vehicles that we bring into service, and it's a whole process to get these built. It takes up to a year to build these vehicles, and they're very specific to their operation. We've also brought on broom trucks. This is a new tool to the industry where instead of plowing runways, you use a broom and you broom them off, and it's far more efficient because you can get the snow right down to the pavement and make the conditions for the runway far better, because you figure an airplane's coming in at 100+ miles an hour. You don't want to land on an icy runway. You want to land on a surface that is as prepared for that type of operation as you possibly can. We've also brought in other aspects. We bring in liquid and dry chemical runway de-icing agents. Very expensive to operate with those, but it's absolutely critical so that the airport can remain a year-round operation unencumbered by winter events. Even though there are scenarios that play out that flights do get canceled, flights do get delayed, that's something that you just can't get around. Winter has its impacts on us. If your viewers just need to remember back to May 1st and 2nd, we had one extreme winter snow event. I can honestly say I've lived in the UPU the vast majority of my life, and that was one heck of a snowstorm that I cannot, well, I can compare it to other snowstorms, but that one was right up there in the top 10 because it crippled a lot of operations. When you see people just can't commute around a community because the snow is so heavy and dense that you can't move it. Airports are equally affected. We did have canceled flights, but we worked very diligently on those days to clear the airfields, and considering the volume of snow and the conditions that a runway needs to be in, we were able to get our operations back up and running very quickly and very efficiently and with minimal impact on our travelers. So winter operations, yes, we do a lot of planning and a lot of training and the purchasing of equipment to manage that. So
I was gonna say, with the size of this airport being so much smaller than, Chicago or JFK, and would you say that it's vital being very early to your flight, being such a smaller airport?
Well, I'm very glad you bring that up, because that is one item that I think is absolutely critical if you are wanting to fly. And a lot of people assume, you're saying, well, is it better to be earlier because it's a smaller airport versus a larger airport? A lot of people flip that completely around. They say, well, it's a small town airport. I shouldn't need to be that early because it's small. It can't be that busy. Well, I can tell you this, if I'm flying out of here and I work here, I'm flying out of here, I'm coming 2 hours early. I am going to make sure I am here 2 hours prior to flight, because the air carriers, they are operating under a very tight schedule. If that flight gets delayed here, it's delayed at the next flight, at the next flight, at the next flight. It's a domino effect, and the airlines will do everything in their power not to delay a flight. So one of the tools that they use is, at our airport, 45 minutes prior to departure, those counters where you check in are closed. So if you come at 44 minutes prior to departure thinking it's a small airport, you're going to come up to a counter that there ain't going to be anybody there to check you in, and you're going to be standing on this side of the security area watching your flight depart rather than the other side. And it's absolutely critical that a person needs to be here early, 2 hours prior to flight. If you value your trip, if you value a stress-free flight, come early. It makes it so much easier.
Coming up, we're going to the K.I. Sawyer Air Heritage Museum for more information from Sarge.
So, how many plates over here right now?
Right here?
Yeah, right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting the drone.
So are those
Actually,
all?
6. No, because the other one's over at the hospital, the T-33.
So are those all real?
Oh yeah, they're all real. Trust me, they're all real.
So could you give us some introduction of some of the flights over here?
Well, this is the B-52D. This aircraft was used during the Vietnam War. It was one of the primary weapons used to drop bombs on the enemy, especially on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, when we were trying to interdict their flow of supplies to the Viet Cong in the south. That is a sample of one of the 750-pound bombs. They could carry a lot of those. And you see the hard point under the wing? They could put 12 under the wing on each side, in addition to the inside. This aircraft is going to get repainted in August. All of the camouflage paintwork is going to get redone. We'll do the black next year, but I got to get the camouflage done because it hasn't been touched in 40 years. And it
That's
needs
a
it.
long time.
Yeah.
So, because you mentioned Voodoo, like when we're in the museum, so what kind of the flight is that?
Well, the Voodoo is that fighter jet right there, right straight through. That one's a B model. It's a 2-seat version that's used for training. The combat version only had 1 seat. And that aircraft right there, there's a model maker online that does die-cast models. He used that as the model for his die-cast model that he sells for $104. And he used the F-106 that we have here as the die-cast for his model. Again, another $104. But the way that aircraft is painted with the red stripes on it, that was the squadron commander's aircraft. And this one just says Champs 1965. And that was William Tell is what they called that. Not Top Gun. William Tell was our fighters.
Oh.
And that's what that one was for.
I just saw like for most of them they don't have wheels on their wings, but for this one, like the huge one, they have like 2 wheels on their wings. Is that because more like protect the wings or?
No. This aircraft had what was called a wet wing. It had fuel tanks in the wing, as well as in the fuselage. When the aircraft is full, that's a 500-gallon fuel tank, a 750-gallon fuel tank on the wing thing. There's one on the other side too. So it wants to tend to do this. When the airplane takes off, those wingtips go up 17 feet.
Wow.
That's how much lift there is.
Wow, that's quite okay.
And you can see how big the tires are. This aircraft could also land in a crosswind. It had what was called a crosswind crab. Front gear and a rear gear. They could cock them like this. So if the airplane wanted to come in on a runway that was going that way, it could do that by cocking the gear, called crosswind crab.
Cool. So, yeah, like this one, I saw like it really got the biggest wheels. So like, generally, how big the wheels are?
Generally, most aircraft, the fighters are about normal. If you look at you've got the fighter aircraft with the smaller wheels, then you've got the F-111, which was a medium-range bomber, and then you've got the B-52. Now those tires are comparable to what you'd find on a 747.
Oh. And that bomb is like the real size of the.
Yeah, that's the size. That's the size.
It's definitely like taller than us.
Yeah, definitely. Right up there.
This is called a gravity bomb. The only thing that they have modified them with GPS guidance systems. They call them smart bombs now, where they can actually steer in flight to hit their target.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Always remember, if you have more tips or ideas on what we can feature on Wake Up, email news@abc10up.com. I'm Alexis Bauman,
I'm Yaqing Li.
I'm Dwayne DeRay.
and you're watching Wake Up.